I'm Madeline. I just turned 27. I've lived in Bloomington for 4 years, and I work in social work. But I grew up in a tiny, tiny town, actually in Illinois, right on the border. And I was always a little odd. I was kind of a weird kid, and I had a hard time connecting with people. And I was always so social that I could make friends really easily, but nobody ever felt close to me. It never felt like I could be as open and honest with people as I think other people felt like they could be with me. Summer camp was always a really special place for me, and a place where I felt really connected to people, because I was just a really intense kid. You know, and at camp you're sort of encouraged to be crazy and wild and a little over the top and a little too much for people. The concrete differences did start to appear when people started developing crushes, because my friends would talk about guys they had crushes on, and I didn't acknowledge that I had crushes on girls, but I acknowledged that I was annoyed about their crushes. So they would want to talk about these, and I'm like, oh, you guys are so boy crazy. All you talk about is boys. And I remember thinking that was so dumb. And also I was a little jealous, I think, because I had these really, close, intimate friendships with girls, and I didn't recognize that as a crush at the time. But in retrospect, had I been able to acknowledge what that was, I would now call some of those relationships crushes. My mom's a therapist, and she had done counseling for people with HIV and AIDS. Now especially feel really blessed to have in my life one in particular, Kathy Anderson. She's like a freelance editor, and when I was little I wanted to be a writer. And I wrote a book in junior high, and she edited it for me for free. I recently had the chance to reconnect with her, and I was a little embarrassed to ask, but my girlfriend Rochelle was with me. She asked me, did you know that Madeline was going to be a lesbian? And Kathy said, oh, I knew, I just knew it would take her a while, which was oddly affirming to hear. I dated this guy that was Pentecostal largely because I knew he wouldn't want to have sex. When I got to college, I had a manic episode and became really sexually active with a lot of different people in ways that were really not safe or healthy for me. At one of my lowest points, I had a friend talk to me about the concept of transactional sex and sort of understanding why you're doing something. And I realized that my motivations weren't, attraction or caring about a person or connection. They were wanting to feel desired or wanting to feel like other people, or to meet sort of expectations of what I thought was normal for a college girl. And she asked me to really think about times where I had felt connected and where my relationships had felt meaningful or intimate or romantic. And I realized that all of those had been with women. And my mom, who I think wanted very much not to overreact, kind of underreacted. I felt like I'd done so much internal work to get to this point, and she was just like, okay. And Mom's thing was, I always knew because of the people in her life that it wasn't something that was going to be an issue for her. But something that she had always said was that she wouldn't care, but she knew that it would be a harder life, and she didn't want that for me. I could tell something was different about me, but I couldn't identify what it was. A lot of the language around gay identity and gay culture comes back to that question of, is this a choice or not? Most people would not choose to experience homophobia. Some of my interactions with people, or some of the ways that I've been treated, have been because of my sexuality. So I don't think that's something people choose. I had this idea in my head of what my future was going to be, and it was a husband and children and a house and a job and a career. And when I realized I was gay, I had to completely rewrite the picture. I didn't want to believe that the thing that had been so different about me was this. I wanted it to be something I could fix with medication, or something I could fix with an outfit change. I wanted so badly to believe that the thing that was making me so different, the thing that was the barrier to my connection with people, was something that I could fix. And in fact, it wasn't something I could fix at all. It wasn't until I started building community with other lesbians and building this sense of identity that I started to feel comfortable enough in myself to develop relationships with these women that I was meeting, but also with other people. And my communications and my relationships, my interpersonal relationships with people deepened, whether they were lesbian or not, just because I was so clearly more comfortable with myself. You know, right after I came out, I joked that I had a butch face because even then I was trying to sort of conform to something, and that wasn't me either, you know. So I really did. I had to start from square one and say how much of what I believed about myself was true and how much of what I believed about myself was what I told myself because I wanted so badly for it to be true. Another huge barrier for me coming out was I had grown up in this small town. I knew all these like older people who had been kind to me. I'd taken like voice lessons from people, and my grandma had a little singing group I was a part of, and I was really scared that my relationships with all those people would change because I didn't know how they felt about that topic. And what I found was most people didn't care. The people that I had already like cultivated relationships with, the people that cared about me as a person, didn't care. And once I got over the fear, because I realized if this is the breaking point for them, if this thing about me that I can't change is why they don't want to talk to me anymore, then I don't want to talk to them either. That was the first time in my life that I had made sort of a stand about myself that other people might disagree with. But to me, it's worth it to be authentic and to be myself and to not have to hide. And I'm still a people pleaser. I like to make people happy. I go out of my way to make other people feel comfortable, but there are some things that are not worth accommodating for.